negatives of being in a sales. All right, so today on this live, I'm going to be teaching all about the discovery call in sales. Now, the discovery call in selling is one of the crucial opportunities that we have to establish rapport with our client. It's also a really important opportunity for us to establish our authority and expertise. And there are many different ways that we can approach a discovery call, and we will get different results and outcomes. So the reason for doing this discovery call message is so you can learn some of the key ways that you can improve your discovery calls. So let's dive in with this. So I'm going to share some slides on my screen and just walk us through as we go. And you can also pop your questions in the chat, and I can respond to those after this recording. So first of all, in terms of the discovery, what is it that people really want? Well, what people want most of all from a discovery call is they want to feel a sense of value. They also want to have a sense of clarity around the objective and the agenda for the call. So always start the call with a couple of bullet points and say, on this call, we will cover this, this, and this. And you can add something like, what else, if anything, would you like us to include? Or does that sound good? And just get agreement on the agenda. So next, it's really important that if you can, you provide some pre-information ahead of your discovery call around what you do, and also specific aspects of the results you bring. This helps to, again, spend more time going deeper in the call because the level of interest in your buyer is going to be that bit higher. Now, in a discovery call, like I said, rapport is very crucial. But another thing as well is that in terms of no-shows, if you have shared information before the call about your expertise to build your authority and positioning, the prospect is likely to associate much more value with the call. So the discovery call is our priority, but we also need to recognize that for our buyer, they may have a number of different priorities around their review and perhaps even life outside of their business or their day-to-day life. So we have to remember that reconfirming the attendance for the call is crucial. Send reminders, ensure that that person is going to be there before the call time, because once it is the call time, again, arguably it's too late to get that commitment from them. Now, next, why might it be that on your discovery calls right now, you might be experiencing any of these things shown here? So if you feel like you're not able to accomplish and talk about these specific topics you need to on a discovery call, most likely your client or potential client is running away with the conversation. They are taking control of the call and you're getting sidetracked. Another important thing to note is that your mindset is important for these calls, in that you need to be open, thinking on your feet, but also importantly, the close is by no means guaranteed. And part of the aim of the discovery call is to qualify your buyer, but also remember that they are looking to qualify you as well and your business. And so we need to clearly provide that all-important clarity around if we can help and support. And we also need to be compelling where we can as well, providing compelling reasons and benefits. And that is going to be in between all the great questions that you will be asking, because of course, in the discovery call, the questions that we ask are the crucial aspect of how well our call goes. And what I mean by this is that on average, and you can see it here on the slides, that between 11 and 14 questions is the optimal amount to ask. A number of people are not asking enough clear, good discovery call questions. And what's happening is that they're not learning enough about their buyer, their interests, and their motivations around what they offer. And so the sale is not progressing. We need to be aware that having assumptions around what our buyers want or this specific buyer wants is going to be a bit of a turnoff, and that it's likely to, again, lose us the sale. So we need to remember that we have a real individual in front of us, and it's important for us to find out what motivates them, what results they want, and what's most important to them right now. And also importantly, what is motivating them to do something about it now? Do they have a compelling enough reason to change? Which is going to be important, because sometimes, again, if we're finding that our discovery calls are not progressing, perhaps we're not finding out in enough detail why they want to change now, and maybe helping them to create urgency around what they're doing, and of course certainty as well. So just to recap, we need to reflect on our sales calls and our discovery calls, and to ask ourselves, did we provide enough information to help that buyer to take a decision about working with us? Did we help them to evaluate in an impartial way? And this is another crucial thing, that we need to be slightly detached from initially, until we've really qualified, until we've understood what that person is looking for. And we need to help them to do that review like a expert consultant. Now, next, it's also important to say, like I said, do we educate people ahead of a call with us on what we do, who we are, how we've helped people? We're not looking to be teaching on a discovery call. We're also not looking to be giving free coaching on a discovery call. We're also, importantly, not looking to have a networking call. We are looking to have a call with prospects who are interested and genuinely looking for a solution in the space that we provide. So again, we need to be very clear ahead of the call about the purpose of the call, and again at the start as well. Now, again, in terms of some of the questions we can ask, so we can have open-ended discovery questions. We can also have questions around qualification. So what are the key questions that we need to know in order to know if someone is right and is a fit for what we do? And that's going to be specific to every offering and what you and your business do. So have your key qualification questions, have a mix of questions that you have mapped out in advance, and then also be ready to create questions when you're live in that meeting. We need to be creative. We need to be, like I said, thinking on our feet a little bit, because sometimes we're going to be using a technique called, number one, proactive listening. So we're going to be proactively listening and formulating questions based on what we're hearing. And then what we're going to do is potentially we're going to paraphrase a little bit of what we just heard. And we can say something like, so from what I'm hearing, you are looking for this. And get that re-agreement, because the more clear your buyer is on what they want, what they're looking for, and we can help them to do this, again, the better it's going to be for our sale. Now, next, let's be aware of what is not being said on the call and what needs are going to be what are called unconsidered needs. So these are needs and desires that our buyer really deep down wants, but they don't necessarily reveal to us because of the trust and the newness of our connection with them. So as a seller, we need to constantly think, is there anything else? How can we get to those other motivations, important priorities, and build that rapport during our discovery calls? So we're going to, like I said, be using some paraphrasing. We're going to summarize as well and recap on some of the key things. I highly recommend taking notes as part of your discovery call. Now, importantly, I'd like to highlight as well that pressure selling and high pressure selling it's a fear and it's an unwanted situation for prospects. Most prospects will not respond well to intense, very direct questions, which are, designed to perhaps assert the importance of the seller, but are not really in the buyer's best interest. And what I mean by that is if it becomes too clear that the aim of the discovery call is simply for us as a seller to ask a load of qualification questions, again, the buyer is most likely to start guarded, becoming resistant to some of our questions. So it shouldn't feel like it's just question, answer, question, answer, question, answer. There needs to be a little bit more to that. And what this looks like is in an empathetic way, diving in slightly deeper to some of the things that are revealed. So we might say, oh, really? Wow. Yeah. Tell me more about that. And that's just an example of trying to demonstrate to our buyer that we're really listening to them, because you would be interested to know that a high number of buyers believe that sellers do not really understand their needs. In fact, research has shown that most buyers think around 13% of buyers are genuinely interested in them. So it's important that we are demonstrating that and not just working through a checklist, a tick list of questions. Again, no one wants to feel like they're on a sort of generic sales call, which is scripted and where there's a predetermined outcome, which is, of course, that they will buy. Buyers are smarter than that today. So again, be wary and be willing to do what is necessary to avoid creating buyer resistance. Ask great questions, listen carefully. Remember that your buyer should be speaking for approximately 60% of the time, and you should be speaking for 35 to 40%, and even building in a little time for silence and just allowing your buyer to digest information. Yes, believe it or not, the tone and the pace of your call is also important. Your tone needs to be certain and strong, and the pace of the call needs to, again, coming back to the pressure selling example, needs to feel relatively, calm, controlled, but not too fast. Remember to keep the pace at a level where the buyer can digest key information. So my name is Camilla Haisler. If you've enjoyed this recording on discovery calls, make sure you tap the subscribe button, subscribe to my YouTube channel. And you can also see in the show notes below a link to my monthly sales challenge. It's a 3-day sales challenge, completely free, which will teach you key things on sales and provide you with 3 key results. So make sure that you check out the link in the show notes for the challenge to sign up. And I look forward to seeing you again for another session and talk on the importance and ways that you can improve and increase your chances of making sales. So thank you for joining today. And like I say, I will see you on another live soon.